I've got the experience of overcoming the special interests and winning, like passing reforms on how money in politics works, both at the state level and at the federal level, so that you know who is bundling money for which congressman, so that we can shine a spotlight on how government works. And you know where these earmarks are going, so these bridges to nowhere that are wasting your taxpayer money instead of investing in education and health care for our kids. And I've got experience of standing up even when it's not popular. Like back in 2002, when I stood in front of a crowd in Chicago as a candidate for the United States Senate and said, it is a bad idea for us to go to war. I didn't just become against the war after it went bad, I was against the war from the beginning. That, I think, is the kind of approach that we need from our elected officials. Is somebody who's willing to stand up to special interests, bring the country together, and tell the truth. And the truth is that in a country as wealthy as ours, I don't accept that we should still have 47 million people without health insurance, and millions more who are close to bankruptcy because of the medical bill. I know something about this. I know something about this because my mother died of cancer at 53 years old. And I remember watching her in the final months of her life on her hospital bed, and she was thinking not about getting well, she was thinking about whether or not the insurance company was going to pay her medical bills because she had just gotten a new job, and the insurance company was talking about maybe this was a pre-existing condition. So I know what it's like to watch a loved one suffer, not just because they're sick, but because of a broken healthcare system. And it's wrong. And we've got to put an end to it. And that's why, as President of the United States, I put forward a bill that makes sure that every single American has health care, that you have the same health care I have as a member of Congress, because you're paying my salary. I don't see why I should have better health care than you do. And we're going to get it done not 10 years from now, not 20 years from now, but by the end of my first term as President of the United States of America. We can do that. I don't believe and don't accept that we can't provide a world-class education to every American child. Think about it. Well, we've got millions of children who are falling behind, and George Bush passes a bill called No Child Left Behind, and then leaves the money behind for No Child Left Behind. So, we need a president who's going to take this seriously, that's going to invest in early childhood education so that children get a good start when they begin school. That we invest in recruiting new teachers and paying teachers more money and giving them more professional development and working with them, not against them, to develop the standards of assessments in the schools. And I think it's about time that we made college education affordable to every single American young person. They shouldn't have to be rich in order to go to college or else have $50,000 worth of debt. I don't accept that the American dream is a thing of the past, which is why we've got to value work. We should have a minimum wage that is a living wage. If you work, you should not be poor. We should make sure that unions have the right to do what they do best, which is lift people out of the middle class by getting them organized. We should make certain that we stop giving tax breaks to companies that are moving jobs overseas and make sure that we invest in companies that give tax breaks, get companies that are investing right here. And you can't tell. I don't accept that we can't solve our energy problems. Think about it. I mean, we're spending $800 million a day to hostile countries. $800 million a day fueling the war on terrorism because of our addiction to foreign oil. And in the bargain, we're melting the polar ice caps. What we should be doing is developing alternative fuels right here in Buchanan County. We should be moving to the next phase of ethanol. We should be increasing fuel efficiency standards on cars. If we increased it to 40 miles per gallon, we would replace all the oil that we import from the Persian Gulf. Imagine what that would do, not just for our economy and our environment, but for our foreign policy. And it wouldn't take that much. And I tell you, when I made that proposal, I didn't go in front of a bunch of environmental groups in California. I did it in Detroit. in front of automakers. And I gotta admit, the room was really quiet. Nobody cheered. But that's okay, because part of what the next president has to do is not just tell the American people what they want to hear. The next president's got to tell the American people what they need to hear. You can tell them the truth. You can tell them where that person stands. I don't accept that we can't provide a secure retirement for every single American. Social Security is a sacred trust. So privatization is off the table. We don't believe in that. We also don't believe in a donut hole on prescription drug benefits that wouldn't be there if this administration had not disallowed negotiating with drug companies for the cheapest available price. We're going to put an end to that practice, and the Obama administration will negotiate with the drug companies, will close that donut hole, and that every person who needs prescription drugs gets what they need. And finally, I don't accept that there's a contradiction between our security and our safety and our moral standing in the world. You know, I opposed this war in 2002, 3, 4, 5, and 6. In 2007, I put forward legislation that said we've got to start bringing our troops out. We've got to be as careful getting out as we were careless getting in. But we can get 1 to 2 brigades out in 1 month and have them out in 16 months, all our combat troops out. Because there's no military solution in Iraq. The folks over there, they've got to make a decision that they want to live together and arrive at the political accommodations and compromises that are needed. And our young people shouldn't be in the midst of a civil war, but a religious war. But what I also said was this, that when we do send our young men and women to war, we better treat them the way they deserve to be treated when they come home. And we still don't have our veterans getting the services that they need. They're not being screened for post-traumatic stress disorder. They're not being screened for traumatic brain injury. They're still having to beg for disability payments. This is why I was amused. I was in an interview 2 days ago or yesterday. Somebody asked me, notice I wasn't wearing a flag lapel pin. And I told folks, I said, well, you know what? I probably worn that pin in a very long time. I wore it right after 9/11. But after a while, you know, you start noticing people wearing a lapel pin but not acting very patriotic. Not voting to provide veterans with the resources that they need. Not voting to make sure that disability payments were coming out on time. You know, and my attitude is that I'm less concerned about what you're wearing on your lapel than what's in your heart. And you show your patriotism by how you treat your fellow Americans, especially those ones who serve. And you show your patriotism by being true to our values and our ideals. And that's what we have to lead with, is our values and our ideals. You know, I want to go before the United Nations and say we've got a whole new way of doing business after George Bush. America's back. We believe in diplomacy. We believe in talking to not just our friends, but also our enemies. You know, JFK once said that we should never negotiate out of fear, but we should never fear to negotiate. We should talk to all our adversaries and let them know where America stands. And when we do that, we can go before the world with pride and say, we're confident that we're going to lead not just by military means, but also by example and by deed. Now, yes, we're going to get off the wrong battlefield in Iraq, but we've also got to get on the right battlefield going after Al-Qaeda. Yes, we've got to lock down nuclear weapons that could fall into the hands of terrorists, but we also have to help the world build schools that teach math and science instead of hatred of Americans, and deal with the genocide in Darfur, because we're not a country that turns a blind eye to genocide. And while we're at it, we've got to close Guantanamo, and we've got to restore habeas corpus, because we're not a